On Sunday night, Fed Chair Jerome Powell dropped a bombshell. The Department of Justice has subpoenaed the Federal Reserve with the threat of criminal indictment. Oh, yes. I was rather pleased when that news hit. It's really unprecedented in American history, though. And the markets responded immediately. Gold exploded to all-time highs above $4,600 an ounce. Silver hitting records above $85. The dollar fell and started behaving like an emergency market currency. And you know what? The official reason for the probe is a building renovation. But everybody knows what this is really about. It's about control of the Federal Reserve. If Powell is forced out and a loyalist is installed, the era of independent monetary policy in America is over. And I'm certainly fine with that. Now, the metals market is pricing in that reality now. And Colin Plume from Noble Gold Investments, he joins me to break down this amazing news about what happened and what it means for your retirement savings. Colin, this is historic. Welcome back. The DOJ subpoenas the Fed with threat of criminal indictment. Gold skyrockets, silver skyrockets. Walk us through what the market is telling us right now, because the official pretext is building renovation, of course, but the Federal Reserve Act prevents the firing of chair over policy disagreements. This is far more than a policy disagreement. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's no secret that they have, President Trump wants to get rates. He wants to pull rates down a little bit quicker. Powell's been, really focused on the idea that we don't need it. But we do know we need it. We need a little bit more room. I think that people that are watching the rates are very familiar with how much debt is coming due in 2026, and they need another 7,500 basis points. I don't think we want to go back to 3% mortgages. I think we all saw what happened there, and the affordability of homes would even be worse than it is today.
Yeah.
But I do think there is some room that could happen, some expanding of the money supply that would allow businesses to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of hiring. We know the labor pool in terms of actual employees is shrinking, but it's partly because of AI, but it's also partly because businesses are still not comfortable where the economy is going to be. So getting some money out there that would allow some hiring and moving in that direction. It's harder than ever for kids coming out of college to get jobs, and it's because businesses are just not comfortable yet. They need more liquidity out there. So I think that's part of it. And then just what's happening in the housing market, obviously that would free up a lot of people. People would start moving and selling because a lot of people are stuck in their home. Even if they want to move, they can't move anywhere because they're going to double their interest rate. And so it's just not – it's too far. It's too far. If their mortgage is $2,500, why would they move anywhere and pay $5,000 a month? It's just not feasible for anybody.
Right.
So
you do the math. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So that we need to get rates down enough where it makes it so that if somebody wants to sell, they could say yeah, I can move in. Maybe I'm going to pay a little bit more, but I can move into a new house. So that would be one of the things that's happening. But it's this is a creative way for him to try to force Powell out.
Colin, you said this is a creative way. The DOJ indictment, I would probably call it a little bit more than creative. It's excessively aggressive, but the point is being made.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I see this whole thing is that it has multiple fronts, like you just mentioned, to get the rates down, expose the politicization of Powell himself,
right,
and at the same time exposing the fact that the Fed has been operating with impunity and unaccountable for 115 years.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah. No. I mean, they're really beholden to the banks, right? I mean, the Fed is really connected to the banks. It does the bidding of the banks. That's how it's always been, and I think what we're trying to do now is make it so that the Fed and the policies are actually going to help, Main Street and not just help Wall Street. That's really this idea is we need to free up some money, and I think listen. I mean, there's been presidents that have tried to push the buttons of the Fed chair. Hoover tried to do it. I mean, there's different ways they're doing it, and then obviously there's a big court case Supreme Court case next week about Cook, and what happens with Cook potentially next week would.
Well, I want to ask you about that because this does coincide with the attempts to remove Fed Governor Lisa Cook.
Right.
If she goes, the administration has, I guess, 4 of 7 governors. Would this be essentially a coordinated takeover of the Fed?
Well, I mean, I think it's twofold. One, I think if they can actually say, the Supreme Court says that they can actually remove her for fraud, which, I think what she did in a position that she's in to say that you have 2 primary residences and get federal aid, federal assistance, they have some cause to remove her. She should be, she's going to be under scrutiny in the position that she's in. So if that works and it looks like that she's out of office, then it would really pave the way for this next, indictment against Powell, and it would kind of set the tone for that. If next week goes in the opposite direction, I think most of the people out there in the community believe it's going to be harder for them to get Powell out. And I think based on time and how long things stay, I don't think President Trump wants to get him out before May. I just don't think he wants him to sit on the board of governors, because even though he won't be in charge after May, they'll bring in somebody new. He still sits on the board of governors, so he'll have a vote, and he could actually push an agenda forward. So I think his underlying thing is like he wants to get the court case out now. Now, he said that he wasn't involved. I don't know. But ultimately, I think he wants to remove both of them, which would be then 2 out of the 7 would be, probably people that he would be able to appoint. And then he could be able to, push more of his aggressive agenda. This is going to be good. Anything that's happening where we're lowering rates will be positive for precious metals. There's no way that you can say that it isn't. Maybe over a month or 2, it could maybe have a pullback, but long term, lowering the value of the dollar, bringing interest rates lower, all of these things long term are fuel for tangible investments. It is fuel for gold. It is fuel for silver, and obviously, silver's up today, almost $2. We're close to $87 today. It's really
unbelievable,
and we're at 180% up since January, the beginning of January.
I never thought I'd see the day.
Yeah, it's
silver at that. Well, I mean, you've been predicting this forever.
Yeah,
you have a book on Amazon. It's a bestseller because it's the biggest blind spot that no one's even talking about.
Right.
But you've been saying that silver is you got the book there? Silver is the new oil, I think it's called.
Silver's the New Oil is the book. It's right here, and I lay out this actual exact situation that I say if it breaks to 58 last year, the next floor would be in the 70s, which it did. It broke through to that. Part of the reason that we're seeing this is that you have to understand that the buyers of safe investments used to buy treasuries, used to buy U.S. treasuries, and the world central banks used to buy treasuries, and retail investors used to buy treasuries and bonds. That's gone away. The world is no longer buying U.S. treasuries. The amount of U.S. treasuries owned by foreign central banks at one point was in the 70% range. Now we're close to 30%. So the world is selling off our bonds, our debt instruments. So that's something to keep in mind. That's really, really important. And these central banks are basically taking that same money and putting it into gold and silver. So, and silver has been a big component of that. And you've seen this pandemic. If anyone's been watching the silver market, they've just seen something that's been so unprecedented where, people now, they don't want a future contract. They're trying to sell these. Nobody wants those. Those future contracts are not desirable. People want their metal now. Even the big institutions want their metal
because they know better.
Because they know better. Right.
Holy cow, dude! This is insane. So it's the market is finally starting the correction that we've been warning about forever because of all the paper that's floating around.
Correct.
It's basically everyone's making their calls. Give me the real stuff. I don't want the paper anymore. And that's what's driving the price up, because the scarcity is it just doesn't exist. The amount of silver that is actually able to be delivered and gold being delivered does not exist.
Right.
They basically oversold the entire market on every single precious metal.
Right.
It's like, dude, that's like the oldest trick in the book. They've been doing this stuff since, like, since the Rothschilds started the banking dynasty in Europe, and then, like, what was it, 1500s or whatever it was? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the oldest trick in the book, and now I can't believe we're 2026 now, and we're, like, finally realizing that history rhymes. Like, give me a break. Yeah. But at least the markets now are catching up. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what people need to realize is the 300-to-1 contract to physical. It's been documented for the last 10, 15 years. You and I have talked about
300 to 1.
I mean, we've talked about it many times.
Yeah.
And that only works if nobody calls in their contracts. Even today, I saw the CME is marketing this 100-ounce silver future contract. So I was like, I've never seen this. This is totally new. They just came out with it today. And I was like, that's interesting. 100-ounce silver future contract. So I thought, well, obviously in the future, if you want to get that 100-ounce silver bar, they'll deliver it, right? Like, they'll give you the silver because they're advertising it, right? It's not just like a spot silver ETF. It's 100-ounce silver future contract. No, you cannot get silver. You can only settle in cash. And that's in the fine print, right? Because
holy cow! Wait a second. Okay. Let me wrap my head around this. Yeah. They're selling it as 100. What did you say? 100 ounce? 100-ounce silver contract.
Future contract. Yeah.
But you can't settle it in silver. You can only sell it in cash.
Right.
That's insane. So basically, the paper floats on the value of the silver, and then the payout is on the value of the silver alone. But the silver never actually exists.
No, it never exists. Now, do they need to?
How can they do? Wait. How can they do this, Colin?
Yeah, well, they've been doing it. They've continued to find a new way to do it. That's the thing. Now they're going to label it and make it seem like a bar. So somebody that doesn't know will say, "Well, I want that 100-ounce silver bar," but it's not a 100-ounce silver bar. You're buying a 100-ounce silver future.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about what's happening.
Okay, so I need to ask you this, because, I mean, you guys have your hands on the real stuff.
Correct.
You're not selling the paper contracts that you can settle in paper based on the picture of 100 ounces of silver. So tell me how this is affecting you and your ability to convert people's retirement savings into real tangible assets that they can actually hold, so they don't have to go and get sold some paper game.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this number. This is the number I think that you need to know, is that, so we've sold just about $2 billion in gold and silver in 9.5 years. I've been doing this for 17 years, but we've sold about just around $2 billion. Right now, I just got a report this morning, and I get every week. And we do cash and IRAs. And so it's pretty close to 50-50. It's a little bit more IRAs that we've sold. So we probably sold $1.3 million, $1.4 billion in IRAs. Today's value of what we've sold.
Oh, don't tell me. Oh, I can only imagine where you're going with this.
Today's value of what we have sold is $3.9 billion.
So what you're telling me is that all your clients, all these years, who invested and purchased the gold and silver direct from you, and who now it's in their possession, they made the smart choice. They said, okay, I'm not trusting this market stuff anymore, taking possession. You said that, what was the small number again? Was it $2 billion?
So $2 billion total, because I think we've done about $700 or $800 million in cash, where and then a $1.3 billion in IRAs.
And then the big number is now, so $2 billion to
the IRAs alone are $3.9 billion, and then the cash is sitting in the 1.6 or 1.7. So we're like in assets that people have bought, gold and silver from us, we're close to $5 billion in current value today.
Right, but you said that, but over the course of all that market product, all that market gold and silver, you said it was over how many billions?
Well, we've sold $2 billion we've sold, but now their value, because the
Right.
market's moved up, IRAs is 3.9 billion, and our cash is about 1.5, 1.6 billion in terms of value. So some of our clients have quadrupled, some have tripled their money, some doubled depending when they got in.
Well, especially if they got in like what, a year ago.
Yeah,
I mean, they're already up
there
like
are
over 100%.
everybody. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so yeah, and it's physical. It's not paper. There's no contracts. There's no futures. I mean, and to be honest, it's. I remember last year it was like we were a few billion, and then today I was like, I want to know before we get on. I want to know where the number. I want to see where we're at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and the nice thing is that people have been protected and diversified, and yeah, I mean, the S&P and other things have done okay, but relative to these kind of returns, we've really hit it out of the park, and I think because we've just focused on this. This is all we do. We don't do anything else. We don't do mining. We don't do any of this. Day to day, we source the best possible price of gold and silver. We have massive volume, so I get massive, massive discounts, which I pass on to clients, and I got them in bullion, products. And I will say, it's important that they bought this, because there is people that bought from my competitors that even after last year, there's people that haven't got to break even because they bought semi-numismatic or rare coins, all these funny coins, these polar bears, and all these coins that people are selling. So there's a lot of people that did the right thing too, but unfortunately fell for some, sales pitch about free coins and $10,000 in free silver, all these things that are out there. We do the bullion, the stuff that's behind us, these bars, that's what we put bars. The things that the banks buy, that's what we sell. And that's the thing that's been able to translate into the best possible returns. And nobody has to wait for a future contract. Nobody has to wait for paper. They're buying the physical metal from us. And we're delivering it or we're storing it. If it's an IRA, it's stored at the depository. But then at retirement, a lot of people last year took possession of their gold and silver. They just said, you know what, I'm 65, I'm 68. I want to take a little bit out of the IRA. Send me my gold. Send me my silver. Send it to my doorstep, which we can absolutely do. Some of them wanted to liquidate into cash, so we liquidated them into cash. So we can do it either way. But the cool thing is.
So let me ask you: does this show up like a Brinks truck? You got $150,000 worth of gold. $500,000 worth of gold. I mean, I can only imagine the transport logistics to transport that value. I mean, like literally, you have a Brinks truck that drops the stuff off.
It's a Brinks truck. It could be shipped, but it's everything's signature. Everything's insured, and we follow up with you. We send emails, we send text messages, we follow up with you to the minute. We're like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. We have a very unique process of how we ship, and we deliver it right to your doorstep, and people are so excited when they get this gold at their doorstep, and they verify it, and then they put it in the vault. But everything we've been talking about all these years, like getting into the right bullion, and doing it the right way, has really benefited a lot of these clients. And I think you and I have talked about it. It's been the last 5 years, it's been 65% silver, 35% gold, maybe 5% palladium or platinum. We've been heavier on silver for the last 5 years. I mean, people have really been buying a lot more silver from us. And early, like 2 years ago, people thought, I made a mistake.
Wait, when did your book come out?
My book came out December of 2024. So silver was at $29 an ounce. And then last year it hit $85 an ounce. So within 12 months of the book, it nearly tripled in price. Yeah. Yep.
What are people saying to you?
Only book.
What are people saying to you about that? I mean, you write the book about it. What are people saying?
I get a lot of, I read your book. I wish I bought more. That's what I get a lot. That's what a lot of people text me. Um,
Yeah.
and listen, I lay out the exact reasons why silver went up. All the industrial demand. Now, did I know that China and the US were going to make silver a strategic metal? No, I didn't know that. But obviously that's helped us. That helped the price. Did I know that, we'd have this incredible, unveiling of these future contracts? Like I thought it would eventually break. I thought the 300 to 1 would eventually come to light and they'd run out. I didn't know it would happen this quickly. And people are now saying silver, they're seeing $150, $200, $300 silver, $400. I mean, the demand is still there. The industrial demand is still there. AI needs silver.
It's not going away.
It's not going away anytime soon. The shortage of 150 million ounces a year that the Silver Institute has predicted is still predicted to happen for the next 5 years. So there's still going to be a shortage.
Dude, we're gonna see $10,000 gold. It's right around the corner.
We're going to see $10,000 gold, and we're going to probably see $1,000 silver. I do believe
$1,000. Yeah, I guess it would make sense.
Yeah, I think we'll see.
And what's funny is people have been talking about this moment for a very long time. Yeah. I remember years ago when we would talk about the Federal Reserve, we would talk about the fiat currency. These paper contracts have been going around. Other experts like yourself who I've interviewed have all warned that eventually this whole thing was going to break.
Yeah.
And there would be no escape. They could try to paper over as much as they want, but eventually you can't paper over it anymore. Oh my God. I remember doing interviews about this moment like years ago. Years ago.
And you are, your career started kind of with Ron Paul, right? Who's a big buff. Like, I mean, a lot of his books, which I've read, almost every book I've read of Ron Paul, he mentions silver. He talks about silver and the Fed, all of these books. I mean, which when we started together 9 years ago, like we would always talk about those books, and I love Ron Paul, and I love what he would talk about. And he'd be on the Senate floor, be like, "This is real money. This is remember."
Yeah. Dude. Ron Paul is the GOAT.
Yeah, he predicted everything that has happened.
Watching him spar with Bernanke back in the day, like, dude, the Fed chair would come in, and now we've got Trump literally about to indict the Federal Reserve chair. I mean, we've gone from like a Federal Reserve that's like, just absolutely reckless. They're still reckless. I mean, who spends $4 billion on a renovation? I mean, have you seen some of these pictures? Look at some of these pictures of like the renovation look at this. They got a nice, beautiful atrium, these big hallways with couches that no one will ever sit in, a little coffee area where you can lounge and they can count their fiat.
All their data could be done by AI, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think like what a
nobody showed. Like, dude, corporate office spaces, they're empty all over the country, all over the world.
Yeah.
Ever since COVID.
Yeah, it's a waste of taxpayer money to do something.
Like, for what purpose? Like, what purpose does this actually serve?
Yeah.
I mean, what? So that these Federal Chair Reserve people can walk around this building and feel good about themselves?
Yeah.
So they can have other bankers say my bank's better than your bank. I mean, what is that? Like, is this just chest pumping? What is it, Colin? Maybe you speculate.
I think it's. Listen, I think it's that to spend this kind of money when we're bleeding, that we're obviously in tremendous debt. It makes no sense. People don't, for the most part, want to go back to the office. And when what they do is they're bean counters, right? Like, why do bean counters need this, fancy sitting room? Like, people, I guarantee you the people that work at the Fed that aren't high up would go, forget this, give me a raise, right? I mean,
give me a raise.
That's the whole thing is like, I the way I believe, and I do this with all my companies, I set my companies up, everybody can make more money monthly, bonuses.
Look, they're counting beans right there, Colin.
Right there, yeah.
They're counting the beans.
Nobody cares about, they want to make more. Inflation's crazy, housing costs. They don't want them spending this kind of money. Put this money in people's pockets. Like that's what people want. So yeah, this is just, a way for the higher ups to feel like they're important. They get people to come to the office and then they leave. And most people are not working 5 days a week from an office anymore. It's shifting pretty dramatically. So, we'll see what happens. Next week will be big. At the end of the day, I think what we're seeing is that we need to think a little bit smarter. And I think that's what President Trump's really trying to do is like, let's work together to get this economy going and let's not be in opposition. And unfortunately, it's, you have these bureaucrats that don't realize that there's people on Main Street that are not doing well and that they need to grow and that we need to fix this economy, and us waiting around and not doing things that help the economy are not good. We need to get better jobs, higher paying jobs, and we need to give confidence in entrepreneurs. And that's really what President Trump's trying to focus on.
So these are some of the Fed chairs that are on the list. Kevin Warsh, Kevin Hassett, who's currently the National Economic Council advisor, current member of the administration. And then you got Christopher Waller, and you got Rick Reeder, who is with BlackRock, which I have my own issues with them. But the other two are members of the Fed. Here's the clip real quick. I'll show it. I'll let you can hear it. Here, let me just pull it up.
Of the National Economic, former Fed Board of Governor Kevin Warsh, current director of the National Economic Council Kevin Hassett, current Federal Reserve Board of Governor Chris Waller, and now BlackRock Chief Investment Officer of Global Income Rick Reeder. The president says he's going to decide on his next pick for Fed chair this month. Dana?
Okay.
So what does that tell you? Like, what do you think about that?
I mean,
do any of those guys sound good to you?
It's interesting to go with someone in the private sector or someone from BlackRock could be interesting because they're looking at much different data than what it's been looking at.
Interesting. Okay.
And I think I have problems with BlackRock too, but I think bringing in somebody with a new perspective. We've joked a lot about how they figure out, job statistics, and they're doing surveys and they're using a lot of this antiquated data. I think what they need to do is they need to bring in some of that's going to get us data that actually aligns with what's happening on the street faster than actually waiting months and months and having to make changes back, like what we've had to do last year. And obviously,
because the damage is already done, and you're always playing catch up.
We're always playing catch up, and I think it's payroll companies, ADP and Paychex, they have a lot of the data faster, and then there's ways to read the trends of what's happening and then, make some decisions on what's happening out there. So
exactly. Why are we waiting, so much time for a market report or an employment report? And when literally information is moving at the speed of light right now.
Right.
And with AI processing data, you can have absolute analysis of that information in real time.
Yeah.
So it seems like the government's really behind in its ability to process and execute and then turn that into policy.
Yeah.
Am I reading that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we need to start thinking about more so is, we need to think about how China thinks. I mean, China thinks the next 100 years. We need to think farther in the future and go, with rates, with what we're doing, borrowing, all the measures, how's it going to affect us for the next 5, 10, or 15 years so we can really plan ahead. Because the Fed has that dual mandate. Their mandate is to keep unemployment low and keep inflation low. So it's something that they need to figure out where's the cause and effect. Lowering rates, does it create more? Does it spur enough jobs? I do think real estate is a big sector in terms of jobs. So if we saw rates come down and we saw more liquidity and people moving and buying and selling, buying new homes, all those things that we need, does it create?
When the housing market is massive. I mean, the waterfall effect of people buying homes or building homes, the people that are employed, the products, goods, and services that go and surround that entire economic block is enormous.
Yeah.
I mean, just, down to the contractors and the people who are going to put the carpet down or even, it has the effect of when people walk into the store to buy a faucet at Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
Then Home Depot's got to hire more people. And
I'd love to see them tackle this idea and really put some money in most of the major cities to fix the office problem that we're going to have going forward. the idea, we talked about earlier, people aren't going back
Yeah.
to the office. You have all these massive buildings that are vacant in most of these major cities. Those need to be turned into residential. I mean, that's what needs to happen. And a lot of them are not built that way. So they're going to have to go in and they need federal money to do that. And if we want to see a resurgence in a lot of these cities, we need to be able to put money out there to turn these huge towers into residential, which helps everybody down below, all the restaurants, all the stores. Like we can create major hubs in some of these cities, fix a lot of these problems that we have in a lot of these cities, but we do have to throw some money at that problem.
Sadly, the last administration, their only solution to some of the empty property was to fill it with illegals that were coming in across the border,
right,
and the homeless people,
right.
Rather than providing an incentive for a contractor to go in, do a renovation, give them a great tax benefit to go and do that.
Right.
And then they go ahead and renovate the whole property. Now they have a beautiful brand new property where they can have a thriving business sector, like you just said. Now it's going to spur all the shops that are on Main Street right below it, and all the grocery stores, etc. Colin. Well, Donald Trump's watching this interview right now, so I know he'll probably be taking notes. But what should people be watching before we go, what should people be watching over the next few months?
Yeah, I mean, I think keep an eye on what's happening, because it's still the stock market. It's at a breaking point. Our dollar's at a breaking point. I mean, gold and silver are only reacting this way because fundamentally something is wrong in our system. The system is cracking. That's the reason that you'd have a commodity go up 170% in a year. That's not normal. That's not normal for those things to happen. That means that the underlying current out there in the investment community is that they don't trust the stock market the way they do. They don't trust dollars. They're moving away from those things. So everyone's got to protect themselves with assets. Assets are the key to everything right now. And I think that's why gold and silver are doing so well. That's why our clients have done so well, is they own an asset. They're not leveraged. They own the real thing. And JP Morgan got destroyed 60 days ago because they've been short on silver for the last 2 years. And what they basically did is they sold all their short contracts and just took a bath. And then they bought as much possible physical silver that they could. So they massive loss, unbelievable loss, and flipped it and said
they had to cash in. People cashed in on the contracts, and they had to make good, and they had to buy the silver at the premium.
That's
Dude.
Right. Oh, they got destroyed, and then they turned around and said we were wrong, and now last year they basically bought the amount of silver that gets mined in a year. They bought that. Now they don't have all of it; they're waiting on it, but they bought that, and so they just completely changed their whole perspective on. So they've been these short sellers of silver for years. And they did well. They've done well in certain markets, but not last year. And now they've made
not now.
Yeah, the biggest 180 I've ever seen. And now they're long silver. So I would say you should be too. If they're doing that, if they're willing to take that kind of bath and go long silver, I think a lot of people should do that. So as what we do is we help people, we educate people. Call us. We're here. You're going to like who you talk to. Friendly people. We do a lot of service. We're really
no Indian call centers, right?
No Indian call centers. I mean, we're here to help. You're going to get a live person. All of our representatives own a lot of gold and silver. They know about it, and they're going to help you, and they're going to answer the phone. And we really pride ourselves, Gary, on old school customer service. That's what we do. Read our reviews. In the last 90 days,
I respect you guys for that, for sure. Totally do.
I think we have 150 Google reviews in the last 90 days. Real clients. We're really focused on the satisfaction. So we're here to help. Even if you're early and you just want to talk to somebody, give us a call. Mention you heard us on the show, on Gary's show, and as always, it's fun, exciting, and 9 years later, we're still going, and it's always fun to jump on with you.
And again, with this news, indictments for the Fed chair. God bless America. God bless President Trump. God bless you, Colin. And we'll see you at the next one. Patriots, you just witnessed history. The Department of Justice subpoenaing the Federal Reserve with threat of criminal indictment. Gold exploding over $4,600. Silver over $85. The dollar behaving like a third world currency. The metals market sending an unambiguous signal. Institutional confidence in the Fed independence is collapsing. When the referee gets captured by one of the players, the game is over, and that is why smart money is fleeing to hard assets with zero counterparty risk. If you have retirement savings sitting in paper assets, get out. You need to act now. Visit nextnewsgold.com. Call my boys at Noble Gold Investments and speak with Colin's team at Noble Gold about protecting your wealth before the next shoe drops. Powell's term ends in May. The Supreme Court rules on the Fed removals in weeks. The clock is ticking. So, Patriots, the links are down below.